The Cabin in the Woods. 5 college friends head to a remote cabin thinking they're just getting away for the weekend. But what they discover changes everything. Dana, Jules, Kurt, Holden, and Marty start to get picked off by zombies that crawl out of the cellar after Dana reads from an old diary. The scene seems to be a classic supernatural thriller, but it is actually more than that. In reality, everything was just a game. Scientists in lab coats watch everything on monitors, placing bets on which monsters will kill the kids. And the twist reveals a massive underground facility that has been manipulating the entire scenario. The college kids are being drugged through the cabin's ventilation system and forced into horror movie roles, while the scientists represent filmmakers and audiences who control everything. More than that, the facility has been running these deadly games for years as part of some ancient ritual to appease underground gods. But this is nothing compared to what's waiting in 1630s New England. The Witch. A Puritan family gets banished from their plantation and builds a farm near a dark forest in 1630s New England. William, Catherine, Thomason, Caleb, twins, and Jonas and baby Samuel seem like a normal religious family. But everything goes to hell when baby Samuel disappears during a peekaboo game with Thomason. But little did the family know that a witch in a red cloak takes Samuel and uses his blood for flying ointment. After that, their corn crops mysteriously fail, animals start acting strange, and paranoia spreads throughout the household. Young Caleb went missing and died horribly, and the creepy twins start having full conversations with Black Phillip the goat, claiming he talks back and tells them secrets. The twist reveals that actual supernatural evil has been destroying them from day one. Because of that, Thomason embraces the dark forces and brutally kills her mother with a billhook and joins a coven of naked witches flying above the treetops. Their downfall wasn't paranoia, it was real demonic witchcraft all along. And speaking of supernatural threats that seem impossible to escape, the next one is a perfect example. A Quiet Place. A family lives in complete silence because deadly creatures hunt purely by sound. The monsters aren't the real threat here. Lee and Evelyn Abbott have survived an alien apocalypse with their kids by communicating only through sign language and walking barefoot everywhere. These creatures wiped out most of humanity using their heightened hearing. Their daughter Regan is deaf, and Lee has been working to build her a hearing aid. The twist reveals that Regan's malfunctioning hearing aid creates a feedback frequency that actually hurts the creatures and exposes their vulnerable flesh underneath their armor. Aliens are another level of horror, but family secrets can be even deadlier than alien monsters, especially with this next one. The Others. Grace lives in a dark Victorian mansion with her 2 photosensitive children, waiting for her husband to return from World War II. The children must live in complete darkness because sunlight will supposedly kill them, so Grace keeps them locked at all times, until 3 mysterious servants arrive, claiming Grace hired them: Mrs. Mills, Mr. Tuttle, and a mute girl named Lydia. In that moment, strange things start happening immediately. The children claim to see other people in the house, particularly a boy named Victor and an old woman who won't leave them alone. But the twist completely flips everything. Grace and her children are actually the ghosts. She smothered both kids with a pillow, then shot herself. The intruders are actually the family who bought the house. Grace has been haunting her own home without realizing she's dead, and the photosensitivity was just her subconscious way of staying hidden from the truth. At least Grace was already dead. This next curse follows you no matter where you run. It follows. A supernatural entity gets transmitted through sexual contact. Jay sleeps with her boyfriend Hugh and contracts it. The entity appears as different people, and the only way to get rid of it temporarily is to pass it on by sleeping with someone else. Here's the terrifying part. If the entity kills whoever you passed it to, it comes back for you, so you're never really safe. Jay and her friends try everything to stop it, but nothing still works. The twist is that there's no real escape or solution. The entity represents sexually transmitted death. You can slow it down by passing it along, but you're just condemning someone else and delaying your own death. The film ends with Jay and Paul walking together, holding hands, with a mysterious figure following them in the distance. The curse continues because some things in life are permanent, but some family curses are even more twisted than supernatural stalkers, just like what we have next. Hereditary. This family's pain was planned from the beginning. Annie, Steve, Peter, and Charlie seem like they're dealing with normal grief after their grandma Ellen's death. But Charlie starts acting even stranger than usual, and when she dies in a horrific car accident after an allergic reaction, the family is completely destroyed. Annie discovers that her mother was part of a demonic cult devoted to summoning King Paimon, one of Hell's most powerful demons. Ellen had been grooming Charlie as Paimon's host, but when Charlie dies, the cult needs a male body instead. That's where Peter comes in. The twist reveals that every tragedy was carefully planned by the cult. Ellen's death, Charlie's allergic reaction, the telephone pole accident are all designed to break down the family's defenses and prepare Peter for demonic possession. And Annie's mother had been manipulating her entire life for this moment. 3 generations of family trauma powers and a demonic propaganda. And speaking of families with dark secrets hiding behind hospitality, the next one is top on the list. Get Out. Chris visits his white girlfriend Rose's family family estate for the weekend and discovers their hospitality hides something unthinkable. The Armitage family seems welcoming, but Chris notices weird behavior immediately. The black staff members act like robots. Other black guests at a party seem off, and Rose's neurosurgeon father asks way too many questions about Chris's physical condition. The twist reveals the Armitages run a sick auction where white people bid on black bodies for brain transplantation surgery. They hypnotize victims into a psychological prison called the Sunken Place, then transplant wealthy white brains into young black bodies for a sick form of immortality. Rose has been luring black men to her family for years as part of this operation, and Chris's strong physique and good genetics made him the perfect target for their next transplant. The family business is literally stealing black bodies. But this racial nightmare is nothing compared to when your own mind becomes the monster. The Babadook. Amelia struggles with her son Samuel's behavioral problems. When they find a creepy pop-up book called Mr. Babadook that shows the monster tormenting a family, strange things start happening in their house. Samuel keeps insisting that a monster called the Babadook is coming to kill them, and he builds weapons to fight it while his mother Amelia grows more exhausted and resentful. The horrors can be felt all throughout their house. Doors began to open by themselves, there were scratching sounds in the walls, and the Babadook seemed to be getting stronger and more violent. But the twist is completely psychological. The Babadook represents Amelia's repressed grief, anger, and resentment toward her son. She blames Samuel for his father's death because he was born the day her husband died. Her mental illness manifests as this supernatural monster that threatens to destroy both of them. Sometimes the real horror comes from inside your own head. But this next one also proved that fear and torture is real. Saw. Two men wake up chained in a filthy bathroom with a corpse between them. Dr. Lawrence Gordon and Adam are locked in opposite corners of a disgusting bathroom with a dead man in the middle, holding a gun and tape recorder. They have to follow clues to escape before Gordon's family gets murdered. The rules are simple. Gordon has to kill Adam by 6 p.m. or his wife and daughter die. The two of them find hacksaws that are too weak to cut through their chains, but strong enough to cut through bone. Gordon realizes he's supposed to saw off his own foot to escape, which he eventually does in the film's most brutal scene. After Gordon crawls away to get help, Adam discovers the truth about their situation. The twist reveals that the corpse is actually John Kramer, the jigsaw killer, who has been lying there listening to everything the whole time. He gets up, reveals that Gordon's family is safe, and locks Adam in the bathroom to die because Adam doesn't appreciate his life enough, according to Jigsaw's twisted philosophy. But Jigsaw's games seem almost reasonable compared to this next psychological horror. Psycho. Norman Bates runs a creepy motel with his domineering mother. One time, Marion Crane stops at the Bates Motel while fleeing town with stolen money and meets Norman Bates. He's clearly terrified of his mother, who yells at him from their house on the hill and forbids him from getting close to women guests. When Norman shows interest in Marion, his jealous mother murders her. Norman discovers Marion's body and covers up what he thinks is his mother's crime. When Marion's sister and boyfriend come looking for her, Norman's mother kills a private investigator who gets too close to the truth. But the twist reveals that Norman's mother died years ago, and Norman has been dressing up as her and committing murders during psychotic episodes. The mother personality takes over whenever Norman feels attracted to women, and he has been preserving her mother in the basement the whole time. At least Norman's victims didn't know what was coming. This next curse gives you exactly 7 days to figure it out. The Ring. Journalist Rachel Keller investigates when 4 teenagers die mysteriously after watching a weird videotape at a cabin. The tape shows disturbing images: a ring of light, dead horses, a girl brushing her hair, and a well. After watching it, people receive a phone call telling them they have 7 days to live. Rachel watches the tape to understand what happened and starts experiencing supernatural phenomena immediately. Her ex-husband Noah also watches it and decides to uncover it together. The investigation leads them to Moesco Island and Samara Morgan. The twist reveals that Samara was a psychic child whose adoptive parents couldn't handle her supernatural abilities. Her mother, Anna, pushed her down a well and left her to die slowly over 7 days. Samara's rage and psychic powers created the cursed tape as a way to continue killing people even after death. Even worse, Samara chooses her victims and decides who deserves to die based on her own wants. The next one also feel that you are destined to have a horror death. Midsummer. Danny joins her boyfriend Christian's trip to a Swedish midsummer festival. She is dealing with grief after her bipolar sister murdered their parents in a murder-suicide, and Christian was planning to break up with her before the tragedy. His anthropology friends invite them to Horga, a Swedish commune celebrating a midsummer festival that only happens every 90 years. Everything seems peaceful at first, then turns into a horrifying one when 2 elderly community members jump jump off a cliff as part of a ritual suicide. After that, Christian's friends start disappearing one by one during various ceremonies. The twist shows that this is not a normal cultural festival. It's an elaborate manipulation designed to recruit new members and kill outsiders. Danny gets chosen as the new May Queen and has to decide Christian's fate after discovering he's been drugged and seduced into participating in a fertility ritual with a young Swedish girl. The film ends with Danny finally smiling as she watches Christian burn alive inside a bear carcass. This proves that sometimes the most disturbing horror happens in festive moments. The Sixth Sense. Malcolm, a child psychologist, meets with 8-year-old Cole Sear, who insists he sees dead people walking around like regular people. Cole's mother is worried about his behavior, but Malcolm is eager to help the boy heal, because Malcolm is guilty over his last patient, Vincent Gray, who shot him before the kid decided to kill himself. Malcolm works with Cole to understand his supernatural ability and teaches him to communicate with the ghosts to help them find peace. As the kid learns to help the dead people resolve their unfinished business, Malcolm notices strange things. His wife Anna seems to ignore him. The terrifying twist is that Malcolm has been dead the entire time. Vincent Gray killed him in the opening scene, and Malcolm has been a ghost throughout the whole movie without realizing it. He appears only to Cole because the boy can see dead people, and Malcolm's unfinished business was helping a child like Vincent. At least Malcolm tried to do something good. This next one is purely evil. The Silence of the Lambs. FBI trainee Clarice Starling interviews the brilliant cannibal Hannibal Lecter to catch another serial killer, Buffalo Bill. This killer kidnaps women and skins them to make a woman suit for himself. Hannibal agrees to help in exchange for personal information about Clarice's childhood and better prison accommodations. Meanwhile, Buffalo Bill kidnaps Catherine Martin, a senator's daughter, and keeps her in a pit while he prepares to kill her. The FBI thinks they've identified Buffalo Bill as James Gumb and raids what they believe is his house. Clarice ends up at the same house independently, not knowing the raid failed. The twist reveals that Hannibal has been manipulating everyone to build his own escape. When Clarice confronts the real Buffalo Bill alone, Hannibal uses the chaos to kill his guards and escape prison, wearing one guard's face as a mask. After that, Hannibal disappears into the world as a free man. But even Hannibal's manipulation seems straightforward. Nothing compares to the next. Shutter Island. U.S. Marshal Teddy and his partner Chuck arrive at Ashcliff Hospital on Shutter Island to investigate the disappearance of patient Rachel Solando. Teddy believes the hospital is conducting illegal experiments on patients. He's also looking for Andrew Laeddis, the man who killed his wife Dolores in an apartment fire. Strange things happen throughout the investigation. SN. Teddy experiences flashbacks to his time as a soldier liberating concentration camps. His partner Chuck seems helpful but occasionally acts oddly. The twist uncovers that Teddy is actually Andrew Laeddis. Teddy Daniels and Chuck are actually the psychiatrists who taught him role-playing therapy. The entire investigation was a treatment plan designed to help Andrew face the truth about his family's deaths. The film ends with Andrew asking, "Which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man?" suggesting he's choosing to retreat back into his fantasy rather than live with the guilt. But even shape-shifting aliens seem straightforward compared to this horror revelation. The Wicker Man. Sergeant Howie receives an anonymous letter claiming that a young girl named Rowan Morrison has disappeared from Summerisle, a remote Scottish island. When he arrives to investigate, the deeply religious Christian policeman is horrified by the island's pagan practices, open sexuality, and complete rejection of Christianity. He discovers that the locals have been preparing a human sacrifice to ensure a good harvest, and the islanders have planned Howie's arrival, planning to offer him as the ultimate sacrifice to their ancient gods. The islanders trap him and burn him alive inside the enormous Wicker Man, believing his death will save their community. This proves that horror lies in false beliefs and mental delusions. Fight Club. The narrator is a depressed insomniac office worker who feels empty and disconnected from the modern world. He meets Tyler Durden on a plane, and they start Fight Club as a way for men to feel alive through physical violence. The club grows into Project Mayhem, a terrorist organization planning to destroy corporate America. Tyler becomes increasingly violent, while the narrator grows uncomfortable with the organization's direction. Members of Project Mayhem treat Tyler like a god and refuse to acknowledge the narrator's authority. When the narrator tries to shut down the organization, he discovers that Tyler has been operating independently and planning something catastrophic. The twist shows that Tyler Durden is the narrator's dissociative identity disorder, a split personality he created to cope with his depression and feelings of powerlessness. Tyler appears when the narrator is asleep or blacked out. The narrator's attempt to reclaim control leads to him literally fighting himself to prevent Tyler from destroying several corporate buildings. The film ends with the narrator shooting himself in the mouth to kill Tyler, destroying his split personality and taking responsibility for his actions. But the next one is even worse. Sinister. Ellison discovers a box of home movies in the attic, showing different families being murdered in creative ways. Each film is labeled with innocent titles like Pool Party and BBQ, but they document brutal mass murders. Ellison becomes obsessed with solving these connected crimes. As she investigates, supernatural events start to happen in his house, and his own family starts experiencing nightmares and behavioral changes too, especially his daughter Ashley, who begins drawing disturbing pictures. The twist is that Bughuul, Mr. Boogie, is an ancient pagan deity who consumes the souls of children by manipulating them into killing their families. The home movies make families who watch them become cursed, and one child in each family gets possessed to create the next snuff film. The film ends with Ashley killing her parents and siblings with an axe. This next one on the list also victimized children in the most horrific way. Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary and her actor husband Guy move into the Bramford apartment building in New York City, where they meet their elderly neighbors Roman and Minnie Castevet. Rosemary gets pregnant after a night where she has vivid nightmares about being raped by a demonic creature while Guy and the neighbors watch. From then on, strange things happen throughout Rosemary's pregnancy. She experiences severe pain, craves raw meat, and loses dangerous amounts of weight. Her neighbors give her herbal drinks that make her feel worse, and Guy becomes increasingly distant and lands a major acting role. Rosemary discovers that her neighbors are part of a satanic coven that has been operating in Bramford for decades. They made a deal with Guy to impregnate Rosemary with Satan's child in exchange for advancing his acting career. The twist confirms that Rosemary gives birth to the Antichrist, and Guy has been in on the conspiracy from the beginning, trading his wife and unborn child for fame and success. Little did she know that the coven has been planning this demonic birth for years. The next one will definitely scare you to death. The Blair Witch Project. 3 film students, Josh, Mike, and Heather, head into the Black Hills Forest to document local legends about the Blair Witch, who supposedly killed children in the 1940s. They interview locals who tell conflicting stories about the witch's appearance and methods, until one time, they got lost in the woods. The supernatural harassed them every night. Josh disappears first, leaving behind only his bloody teeth and hair wrapped in his shirt. Meanwhile, Mike and Heather continue documenting their deteriorating mental state. The twist is that the Blair Witch never appears directly. All the horror comes from psychological breakdown and the character's imagination running wild. The found footage makes everything feel real. Mike and Heather find an abandoned house where Mike stands facing the corner like the witch's victim supposedly did before dying. Heather screams, the camera falls, and everyone never sees what happened to them. The film works because it taps into the familiar feeling of being lost, helpless, and stalked by something you can't see or understand. The next one is a new kind of fear, because literal aliens decided to scare us all. Alien. The crew of the Nostromo encounters a deadly alien life form, but the company knew what they were sending them into. The crew responds to what they think is a distress signal from a mysterious planet and discovers a spacecraft filled with alien eggs. Executive Officer Kane gets attacked by a facehugger that implants an embryo in his chest. After the creature detaches, Kane seems fine and the crew continues their journey home. During dinner, the alien embryo violently bursts from Kane's chest, killing him instantly. The creature escapes into the ship's ventilation system and grows rapidly into a nearly indestructible killing machine. The alien picks off crew members one by one. The twist reveals that Science Officer Ash is actually a synthetic android programmed by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation to ensure the alien reaches Earth for biological weapons research. The crew was expendable from the beginning, and the company knew about the alien species and sent them to collect a specimen. This strange attack is planned all along, but the next one is driven by mysterious deaths. Friday the 13th. Camp Crystal Lake reopens after a series of crimes. The camp has been closed since 1957, when a young boy named Jason Voorhees drowned due to counselor negligence. Local residents warn them that the camp is cursed and try to discourage the reopening, but the counselors ignore these warnings and begin preparing for the summer season. Then, a mysterious killer starts stalking and murdering the counselors, one by one using various weapons. The murders become increasingly brutal and creative as the killer works through the entire staff. The twist reveals that the killer is Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, who has been seeking revenge for her son's death for over 20 years. She blames the counselor's negligence for Jason's drowning and has been preventing the camp from reopening. Yet, Alice Hardy fights Mrs. Voorhees in a brutal confrontation and decapitates her with a machete. The film ends with Alice floating on Crystal Lake in a canoe, thinking she's safe. Then Jason's decomposed corpse bursts from the water and drags her underwater. But this turns out to be a nightmare sequence. But the next one on this list is even more brutal. The Thing. The crew of the U.S. Outpost. 31 encounters Norwegian researchers who are trying to kill what appears to be an ordinary sled dog. After the Norwegians die in a helicopter crash and gunfight, the Americans bring the dog back to their station. The dog transforms into a grotesque alien creature that attacks the other dogs before being destroyed. The alien organism can perfectly imitate any living being by assimilating and copying their cellular structure. Once someone is absorbed, the Thing can can replicate their memories, personality, and behavior so completely that it's impossible to tell who is human and who is the alien. The twist is that anyone could be the thing at any time, including the protagonist, MacReady. The film ends with MacReady and Childs as the only apparent survivors, but one of them might be the thing. They're stuck in the burning station with no way to verify each other's humanity, and the organism might survive the cold and eventually reach populated areas. But the next one is the horror movie that truly scared everybody, The Conjuring. Roger and Carolyn Perron move into a Rhode Island farmhouse with their 5 daughters and immediately experience paranormal activity. The supernatural events get worse every night, ending in violent attacks on family members. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren examine the house and discover that the property was owned by Bathsheba Sherman, a witch who sacrificed her newborn baby to the devil and cursed all families who would ever live on the land. She hanged herself from a tree, proclaiming her love for Satan. But the twist is, Bathsheba's spirit has been possessing mothers in every family who lived in the house, forcing them to kill their children before committing suicide. Bathsheba possesses Carolyn and tries to force her to kill her daughters, but the Warrens perform an exorcism that saves the family. However, the house remains cursed, and the Annabelle doll in the Warrens' collection was just one of many cursed objects in that house. At least the Perrons knew they were facing a supernatural threat. This next guy had no idea he was fighting himself. If you want to see the 12 smartest decisions in horror movies, click the video on the screen.